Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at how to debug a flow in Flow Builder. It's a really useful tool if you're an admin, and in 2025 they actually have added some new functionality to it and they changed the way it looked. Made this video originally a couple years ago, so this is the updated video and we're just going to jump straight into this thing. If you haven't done so, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. I'm putting out new Salesforce content all the time. Jump into it. All right, I am in Flow Builder here looking at a record triggered flow that I have created in my sandbox. And the first thing we're gonna do when we're ready to debug a flow, we're just gonna go ahead and hit that debug button. Now, you have a few different options when you're wanting to debug a flow. You can run it immediately, or since this has a scheduled path, I could choose to follow the 1-day follow-up path. It'll ignore kind of the time delays, and you can go ahead and test scheduled paths as well when you're debugging, but we're going to keep this on the run immediately path, as you can see. You can also set how to run this flow. So do you want to run it when records are created, updated, and I believe if this flow was set up for delete, we would have that option as well, but we don't in this one. Next set of options we have is to skip start requirements or conditions. That could be useful if you're not concerned with testing the entry criteria like the very beginning of the flow, and you're really just interested in once it gets past there and you're really just wanting to test one of the further elements further down the line. Now, this option allows you to run flow as another user. So you'd be able to select a different user in here. Now, to have this setting turned on, like if you're in your sandbox, it's probably grayed out. What you have to actually do is you need to turn this setting on. So in setup, if you go to process automation settings, and if you look, I use Control F to find it, just debug. Right here, you're going to need to check this checkbox. It says when the setting is enabled, users with the manage flow and view all data permissions can specify the running user each time they debug a flow. So if you're in an admin, like a system admin profile, you're going to have all these permissions to view everything. So you're going to want to make sure this is checked. This is really useful, especially if your flow is not running in system context. So it's actually respecting sharing rules and access policies. You're going to want to check this so that way you can go ahead and debug this as a user. That is super helpful. Down here at the bottom, you're going to specify, because this is triggering on the case object, you're going to specify the case record that you want this to run on. So let's just have it do the run immediately side. Don't worry, I'll do the 1-day follow-up side as well since this is a scheduled path. And I'm not going to run it as a user, and I'm just going to go ahead and hit run. Now on the left side, well, first off, let's just look at the canvas itself. You can see the pathway it took. You see the flow started. It ran it immediately. It checked if it was created or updated, and then it flowed through the rest of the flow. We got a green check mark here, green completed at the top. That means the flow successfully ran and ran into no issues. On the right side is actually the debug details. Now this is a little different than it used to look if you've used it before, but I actually like the new layout. It's way easier to read. Now, something that is cool here under the gear settings, you can show the API names to stuff. I love this, and I love to check this when I'm debugging. You can also check this to show governor limit consumption and then show transaction boundaries. I'm just going to check them also. If there is any, they'll show up. If you hover over this, you can copy debug log to a clipboard, and you can actually transfer this out of the little debug panel here and paste it into like a notebook or a OneNote, and then be able to view your debug log that way. Super helpful. You can also search for debug details now. So maybe I want to look for high priority case, or maybe it's, it's showing the API name, so I needed to use the underscore. So like high priority case, I saw that here, and I was like, oh, let me check it out. You can see exactly what the outcome is. You don't have to sit here and scroll. You can expand all of the arrows at once if you like, but you can go in and see, like for decision creator update. You can see exactly what happened. I have a formula, is new formula. It evaluated the true and it equals true, and that means all conditions were met. And it went down the high priority side, or oh no, excuse me, that was the created element. Then it checked for high priority as well. As you scroll down, you can actually see under the update triggering case records, you can see exactly what the values was, what they were set to in this update element. Super useful. You can see like the business hours ID was set. Data quality descriptor is all case details captured. So you can take a look at that whenever you're going through, and you can see how many DML statements, 1 out of 150, 1 out of 10,000 rows. Of course, this ran in rollback mode, which means the transactions were rolled back. Just to show you this, I'm going to hit debug again, and it brings up the panel. Let's change this to 1 day follow-up, and let's just say it was created. So now you can see exactly what happened here. It went down the 1 day path, it was successful, and it called on my subflow. Now, this is a good point here. So when it called on the subflow, I can't exactly see what happened. I would need to go in and actually debug this flow separately. So if you have a subflow embedded in a flow, you're not going to have all the details in the main flow that calls on the child flow. So you'll want to test this one, and then just as long as the variable is being passed, as you can see the record ID is being passed, you can take that record ID, go in here, open reference flow, and then run a debug on this flow to be able to finish testing. This is just a send email action that I have built out here. But this is a really powerful tool. Now, I already have another flow open here. I think this is a standard flow that came with the sandbox. It's a screen flow. So I just wanted to go ahead and select that debug here. I'm not even going to put in information. I'm just going to hit run. And then your screen actually will pop up here. And this is how you can debug screen flows. On the right side, it can show how the interview was started. So if you had some get elements or you were setting values, maybe an assignment element beforehand, it would show up here on the right side. I'm just going to say approve and put test, and then I'm going to hit finish. And it says all done. So you can see the transaction history on the right. You can see exactly what was inputted into the screen. And then in this case, the transaction was completed. This flow is super basic. And like I said, it was just, it's just a standard little flow that comes with the sandbox. But I wanted to show you kind of what the debug details look like there. I don't think I have, there's complex we can look at. No, this is just some standard stuff that they provided. But this is what it looks like whenever you debug a screen flow. Now you may be wondering, I talked about being able to debug a flow as another user. Whenever you do that, the debug logs are going to look the same. The only difference is it's acting as if the user itself, like the user you're running it as, would be able to access the records or create records. So if there's any fields they don't have access to, you may get an error message, which will cause a big issue. And I might be able to, let's see, let's do create. I'm going to purposely cause this flow to error out. Let's send something that's not an ID. Pause it see if it even lets me save this. It should. All right, so count ID is expecting some sort of record ID, and I'm going to try to push a Boolean variable into this. So I'm just going to edit flow. I saved it, and then I'll hit debug again. I'm just going to run it as myself and select this case record, and let's see what happens when I leave it on created. As you can see, it failed. It turned red at the top. I already know what the issue is. As I said earlier, we're trying to push a Boolean value into a record ID value. So let's just see what it says. It says, the flow tried to update these records, gives us the record ID. The error occurred malformed ID, account ID value of incorrect type. False. So what it's saying is it expected an ID and we provided false, the Boolean variable. And then you can see right here exactly what details are set. So you can see account ID equals false, which we all know is not good. So that is the issue here. And so it failed to update the case record. You can see it, you got the red marker here with the circle with a line through it. And there is some details that tells you how fast the flow ran and all that jazz as well. So this is what it looks like whenever you have a flow that fails debug. Then what you could do is just hit edit flow. It takes you out of debug mode. Go in there, fix it, save it, debug it again, and then you'll be good to go. But I hope you found this video useful. Knowing how to debug a flow is a really important part of being an admin. And the more you get, practice you get with it, the more you'll understand what it's doing. There are some limitations that you'll kind of see as you go through it, but overall it's a great tool, especially with the new enhanced stuff. Using the API names, being able to copy the debug log out of Salesforce Flow Builder, kind of the Flow Builder platform itself is huge. So go around, play with it, see what you think, and just get familiar with it, and it's going to help you out a ton. But if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like. I really appreciate all your time watching this video, and I will see you in the next one.